And I'm Lauren.
And we are Stitches and Sundries Fiber Podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. And look, you can't quite see, but I have a kitten.
Yeah, there's some ears. You can see these ears. I'm a little frightened of her.
Dusty is joining us today. So you'll hear her wheezing and puffing.
Yes, any groans you hear is the cat. She makes weird noises. But we're here to talk to you about crochet, knitting, fibery goodness. Lots of stuff. I have lots of knitting to share.
I have a little. So between the two of us, we'll make an average size podcast.
Yeah, we will. It's been 1 week since our last episode. And that just kind of happened because I forgot to upload because I'm a bad human being. But here we are.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah. I took a while to recover from vacation, apparently. So, we're here, though, and we've got stuff to show you.
Yeah. So we have some fun stuff.
We do have some fun stuff. So I'm going to start with a finish.
Sweet. Ooh, this is so pretty.
So this is, it's called the Snuggle Down Cowl. And I'm looking at my notes because I have too many snuggly things going on at once.
Yes, you do.
It's adorable, and it's mohair and fingering weight yarn held together, which is...
Tuck the ends in.
Oh yeah, I didn't weave in my ends. Yay. So it's mohair and fingering weight yarn held together. It's pretty easy to knit with those two held together if you've never done it.
It's so pretty.
It is very
love
pretty.
the fade of colors.
Yeah, so I'll talk about the yarns that I used a little bit. So I have I used up some leftover yarns, but then I also have a mini skein set that I got as an advent calendar. So I used a couple colors from that. And my cowl is actually much shorter than intended because I did not buy enough mohair to go for the project. I used what I had in stash, and it was just one skein of pink mohair. But it looks great.
It does look great.
And it's fuzzy and cozy inside, and it's not blocked, which it will get a little bit wider, I think, when I block it, which will loosen it up because it is a little snug on my neck. But I really like it. It's very soft. So what you do to kind of get what I did here, like this fade, is you pick your colors so that they kind of go together. So I picked like a pink, and then I picked, this is actually a white with speckles in it.
I love those splotches.
And it's like a white, but it kind of has a hint of pink in the white, and then all these colorful speckles. Like there's blue, there's orange.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of brown.
The pink wash from the mohair.
The pink
just
wash
brings everything
brings
together.
it all together. And like these two colors there's two different colors in here, but you can barely tell because they're so similar without mohair, and then adding in that mohair made them look really dreamy together.
Dreamy. That's what
dreamy.
Mohair
I don't know why I said that,
filter.
but
It's a dreamy mohair
I
filter
didn't
on
do a
these
very
colors.
good fade right here. I grabbed this darker yarn because I wanted to use it all, and I did. So it's just all in there, and it has this nice dark chunk at the bottom. It kind of gives me which way I want to wear it, which I want to wear it with the dark at the bottom. So it kind of gives me like, what side's the right side up? It's a very easy pattern to knit. I don't even think I had this as a whip to show in our last podcast. I think in the last 2 weeks I just knit this up and finished it really quickly, without weaving in the ends, of course.
It was very pretty.
Oh, I didn't say who it's by. It's by Jooles Hill, and it's called the Snuggle Down Cowl, and it is a paid-for pattern on Ravelry. But it is so fuzzy, it is so dreamy, and of course it's pink because
how long
that's
is
my
it
color.
supposed to be? Neck-wise?
I don't know. I think it's supposed to have 7 colors in it, and mine has 4 whole skeins in it.
So
4 whole mini skeins, so like
so like maybe a third bigger.
Yeah, it should probably be like,
that's a lot to get for cowl.
well, it's supposed to crunch up and be all squishy around your neck and glorious, but oh well. So this is my width.
I have this cat and it won't let me put my feet down. It has to have
I'm
lap.
surprised she's not attacking me because I have little strings over here, but she's not paying attention yet.
She's being good.
So that's my only finish, and then I have like a whip parade. So, do you want to show anything?
I have a semi-finish, so we're gonna have to. Jeez Louise, how
do you want me to show and then you can move the cat later?
I can't get it. I can't get it.
All right, I'll show my next one.
What do we do when we can't get it?
We move on to Devynn because Devynn has more.
How do you guys handle when you're crafting and an animal takes up space and you're like, oh dear, I need my scissors over there, but if I do, I will disturb this animal.
I don't disturb the animal because I like the snuggles. That's how I handle it.
I'm getting snuggles.
I appreciate the snuggles. So, so guys, let me tell you about this next project. There's a little bit of a story here. I am signed up for a knitting class, and I'm taking it through the yarn shop Untangled Pearls, which is in Fredericksburg, Virginia. And it's a wonderful shop. I've been there a couple times. I love them. But I'm really sad because I still don't have my yarn for the shop, or for the class that I'm taking. And we're like I think we're 4 whole lessons in, and there's only 3 more. I don't have my yarn. But COVID has really delayed mills, and I've listened to podcast-wise has talked about how delayed shipping has been with yarn. So I know I'm not struggling alone, but I'm taking this class and I'm determined not to, waste my time in this class, and I'm working with the instructor. And so here are some sleeves I'm working on. This is really cool. This is for the Spark Cardigan by Andrea Mowry. This is my first time doing a sort of pieced together sweater. It's sort of pieced. It's knit from the bottom up, and you start with the sleeves, and then you knit the body, and then you kind of join the sleeves. And then to make it a cardigan, you cut it. Steeking, yay. And that's why I'm taking the class, because steeking is kind of scary for me. But, so what I'm doing here is I'm using some yarn from Stash. I have a blue worsted weight yarn, don't even know the name of it. And then the white is some Cascade 220. And I'm just practicing the techniques of the class. So there's a German twisted cast on, 2 sleeves at a time, which has been fun. You will have a lot of yarn all happening at once when you're doing 2 sleeves. And you can see I have a really long tail, but there's 2 colors here for each sleeve. And what you do is you knit across here, you knit across here, drop these yarns, you turn your work around, you knit across here, you knit across here. It's a lot of stuff happening at once, but I've actually knit these sleeves twice. Practicing technique, because I didn't like how they came out the first time. So maybe by the time my yarn actually comes, I will have a perfect sleeve. But these are looking really good. I'm actually kind of happy with the way the cuff is looking. I think I got my cast on edge kind of neat. And then
really nice. I actually love those colors.
I know.
Yeah.
I don't have enough
never
of
comes.
them.
If your yarn never comes, just order more.
Yeah, I think if my yarn never comes, I'll just have to order a whole bunch of Cascade 220, and I think I have enough blue to do the color work. But yeah, so I'm just practicing my little sleeves with this project. It's been fun and stressful at the same time, but the instructor and I talked, and we're gonna work together once my yarn does come, and we're gonna make it. She's not gonna leave me hanging on a sweater that I'm not comfortable knitting. So
that's very nice.
This is a very unique construction sweater for me, considering I've only done one other sweater. So that's my whip. Do you want me to go again?
No, I'm going to move.
You're gonna move the round.
Move the jelly roll. Come here.
You should hold it up first. This is the round. What is her name?
This is Dusty Woes.
Yeah,
her nickname is Dust Bust, and for whatever reason, she was just very comfortable. But she's done.
All right, so now she's going to be parading around and maybe ruining the podcast.
Touching stuff. Yeah, this is great. She'll go stress eat. I've talked about my temperature blanket in the past, and I was working on it over the past 2 weeks and got to the end of June and looked at it covering me in my. I have like a big overstuffed chair and ottoman that's my crafty corner, and I am like covered from toe to neck all sides of the thing, I'm just like covered. And I'm like, this is huge. And this is halfway done. If I do another half, it's going to be so long it will be unusable. Like, it will be so long it'd be ridiculous.
It would be. We kind of stretched it across the bed and it looked a little like finished already at 6 months.
Yeah. So after getting a couple friends over and putting it across, we have a full-size bed. So not like, it wouldn't fit a queen, but like for a full size, which is where I'm thinking about putting it, it was like perfect.
Yeah.
And I was looking at him like, guys, I think I'm done half. I think I'm like, half the year is going to be one blanket and half the year is going to be a second whole blanket.
Which is kind of cool because that way your sister can have one and you can have one.
Yeah.
And then there's no fighting over the temperature
There's
blanket.
no fighting over this super snuggly blanket. It is so snuggly. When I was working on it, I'm just like, if the cat laid with me, I was too warm. It was warm and snuggly.
Well, you're using a sport weight cascade.
Yeah, sport weight wool, and it's just, it holds heat, it holds its snuggliness. So, this is what it looks like, and get it out of my giant tote.
I think you should hold up your bag.
This is my, it takes up the entirety of this
It's a duffel bag.
This takes up the entirety. Oh!
And apparently it's a struggle to get out of the bag.
It's a struggle to get in and out. So, it still has my stitch markers in, but it is cast off. And it is, it has a few ends that need woven in, but that's all I've got there.
Alright. So the bobbles, I think, will face outward if we do this.
Alright.
So we're going to hold this up to show you guys, but we're also probably going to insert a, like, scroll over of this blanket.
Oh my gosh, these lights make it look so bright and cheery.
I love the new lighting, guys. We got a couple of stand-up lights. I think they're called softbox lights. Anyway.
So I'll try and insert a picture of it entirely on a bed so you can see it. So this is from January to June. I love the fade. You can kind of see it fades from like dark, more muted tones in the winter and fall to these bright reds and yellows and purples in the summertime.
Yeah, so we'll just...
And so the other blanket will fade from these bright colors to the more muted tones.
This is like getting into the wintry, right?
Yeah, the blues and whites are winter. Yeah. We had a weird year. It was all over the place.
Our temperatures were not consistent.
So I am going to weave in these ends and then put this one aside probably and start on the second one, which will fade from bright to muted so that they'll kind of match, but they'll be interesting enough. And of course, the randomness of temperature will give you random colored blocks. And then I'll put a simple border on them probably because there's so much going on. I don't think a complex border is necessary. And in like the bottom right in the border, I will stitch in 2020 January to June on one. That's and cool. 2020 July to December so that you know what you're looking at. Because you were showing me a picture of a woman you met that's also doing a temperature blanket, and hers is so legible. It's like you can see there's like dividers for months, and mine's like, no,
chaos, be crazy.
And I love it. So, yeah.
Well, I think one of the things that the other lady's temperature blanket did was she picked a gradient, which you didn't really do a gradient. No, you just did shade or colors.
I just did coordinating colors, which. It's so fun to like fold over, and even though this looks so drastically different than the bottom, it still matches, still goes, and I really like that.
I think it looks like a really cool Southwest style blanket.
Ended up kind of Southwesty.
Yeah.
Kind of like a carnival in the Southwest.
Yeah. I like it.
So I am calling this blanket finished, not fully finished because it needs a border.
A blanket, guys. She crocheted a blanket.
I crocheted a huge blanket. And I'm gonna do another one.
And if you guys aren't familiar, this is the As We Go Stripey.
Yes, this is As We Go Stripey by Not Your Average Crochet.
Yes.
And I did it all in Cascade 220 Sport. And I'm glad I did Sport because it's a heavy blanket.
Yeah, worse the weight would melt you.
But.
It's gonna be such a nice throw blanket.
It is going to be a very nice
bed blanket, whatever.
I think it's gonna be more like it's gonna be a combination throw, and as soon as it starts getting nippy, you want this on your bed.
Yeah.
So it's going to be nice to have. And it'll be fun that my sister and I
has been
both
nippy
get.
lately.
Oh, it's so nice.
Oh my gosh, it was in the
work on.
50s. I think yesterday it was in the 50s. It was so cold. I loved it because I got to wear my wool sweater yesterday. And
we did a pumpkin carving. And so we had everybody outside all bundled up, cutting up pumpkins.
We did, I'm 30 years old, but let me tell you, I may have turned into a teenager, or not a teenager, but like my 20-year-old self yesterday. We did a German festival sort of things with a couple friends, and I shotgunned a beer, guys.
Oh.
It was I really wasn't gonna do it, and then at the last second somebody shoves a beer can in my face, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do this, and I'm like, but wait, I gotta take off my hand knit sweater.
Yeah, like I can't take the chance, guys.
So I had to take off my sweater, and I had a t-shirt on underneath, and so they did a video recording of me shotgunning the beer, which I will not be inserting into this podcast. Just imagine it, okay?
While we were carving things yesterday, somebody brought like a drywall saw, so it's got a motor, so you can saw through the pumpkin super fast. And one of the kids, because nobody's watching their freaking kids, grabbed it and went around cutting people's beers in half.
Oh my god.
So that was the day. But it was super fun. We had a great time.
Yeah, ours was really cool too. They did a traditional German food, which was they did this like beefy roast with a gravy thing with a potato cakey thing. I don't know the names of the foods because I suck at life, but it was all delicious.
You suck because I want recipes because that's my jam.
I can get you recipes, but they also did 2 different types of sausages, and some green beans. But the gravy and the beef and the potato cake was the best. Oh, and you layer so you do the potato cake, and then you put the beef, and then you put the gravy on top, and you eat it like that. And God, it was so good. And then they also had some traditional German beer, which was very tasty. And that is not what we shotgunned. We shotgunned some cheap stuff.
No, that's what you do. That's what you do.
So that was my update on the festival thing that I did.
That's nice. I baked a bunch of fall cookies, and they just made my heart so happy.
They're delicious. I ate one before the podcast, and oh my god.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need to take some cookies home.
You got it.
I have
more whips. We have more whips.
I'm in a knitting I'm in my knitting mojo. Like it's
that time of year. You get the.
I'm in the middle of a row. Just give me a second. Keep talking.
Oh my god! Really seriously. But it is getting that time of year where you're like, okay, the temperature's dropped, the leaves have changed. I'm ready to get a hot cup of tea.
Yes, tea, and I'm drinking some fancy tea.
This is Night Owl by the Eastern Shore Tea Company, which is a super great company here in Maryland, and it's highly caffeinated. So,
yeah, I was feeling really sleepy. Not that I was out late at the party from yesterday. For whatever reason, on Friday, I stayed up until like 2 o'clock in the morning watching Forensic Files. No reason, nothing exciting.
I fell asleep on the couch at 7 after my family left because I was so exhausted.
Yesterday I went to bed early after the party. Hangout. It wasn't really a party, but anyway, I have my thing.
But it is getting that time of year where you just feel like getting a cup of tea and snuggling into the couch with a project and being like, "Leave me alone, world."
It was glorious this weekend to curl up and knit a little bit. Did some of that Saturday, some of that Friday.
I'm gonna do some of that today.
Yes.
That's fine.
The afternoon plans.
Yeah.
So I am holding up poorly, trying to figure out how to hold this. This is, and I've shown this a couple times, this is the...
It's got to be almost done, doesn't it?
Forest Path Hap by Patricia and Frost.
I love this yarn you're using.
It is, oh my gosh, I love it. It is such a good knit. I am moving through, and I'll scoot up here so I can kind of like show... Maybe I'll show. This is Shetland lace. It is not difficult, but I am struggling to just get through it. So this one is not one that I knit a ton on, but I did make probably 1 inch of more of the lace, and I have just a little bit more to go. I'm actually almost done. I think by next podcast this should be done, and I plan on blocking this because I'm hoping it'll help soften this. This is a very crunchy wool.
Yeah, it is a little.
Actually, it's a softer crunch, but it's still got some crunch. Yeah. So I want to block it to help soften it up, and also when you block it, you stretch out the lace a bit to give it a good
definition.
Because like right now, and hopefully when I block this, you'll be able to see this more noticeably. But right now the lace is like barely visible. But once it's blocked, that will widen and open up and be beautiful. So that is my Forest Path Hap, which I love working on.
It's very cute. I'll be excited to see it when it's done.
Yeah, I work on it every morning. My boyfriend and I do. We call them front porch sits, but it's actually too cold to do front porch sits anymore. So it's couch sits in the morning, and that's my morning project. And I have 2 more.
I have 1 more.
Okay,
So
I'll let you go.
We talked about this a little bit last time. I got started on my first cardigan. So this is the Inmost cardigan by 11 Handmade, and I am doing it with this really pretty yarn. This is Ella Ray Cozy Alpaca Chunky.
It is so pretty. Oh my gosh, that is picking up the color, I think.
That is a really pretty color, and it is soft as a baby's bottom.
Yes.
So
it's a nice rusty orange.
Yes. So let me just make sure my loops are pulled out so it can come out here. So I just got to start because I thought, and we can talk about this a little bit, I thought my gauge swatch a lot. This, I don't know if my yarn is not as chunky as the yarn they were using, or I could not get loose enough. I could not get loose enough. With the, my stitches across were right, but my rows were not the right height. They were always too short. And I would loosen up to the point where I was like barely hanging on. I'm like flowing yarn as best I can. I'm like, I can't actually stitch like this. So I did the start as a test and looked at how would this go around my waist? How does this actually lay with my average stitch tension? I'm trying to be as loose as I can to get any extra height I can make, but like I can't get loose enough. I don't know I don't know if it, like I said, if they're using a slightly chunkier yarn, that might do it. My stitch count is right.
Do you know what yarn the pattern called for?
I can look.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
I don't know. I don't know if they actually suggested a yarn.
Oh.
I can look though. But I did it, put it around my waist, looked at where it fell, and it seems to be perfect. So I'm not too worried about it. I decided to just continue forward, being as loose as I can. It's made to be oversized, so if it's a little smaller, that's not going to hurt.
Well, I do know in knitting, the stitches across is way more important than stitches up and down. Although there are certain instances where stitches up and down does make a difference.
Yeah, and that might be, it might sit, instead of being all the way down to like my mid-thigh, which is kind of where it's supposed to hang, is like kind of right under your butt. It might be more waist. Yeah. And that's not too concerning to me. But I got it started here. So this is just the start at the bottom.
So soft. I love this
yarn. This yarn is very soft, and it's very nice to actually stitch on. These are super fun puff stitches that will make a braided effect when I get the second row done. But the one thing about it is it hairs like nobody's business. It hairs and just like, it's not fraying. It just is fuzzy. It fuzzes.
But it's not really pilling either.
No,
it's just kind of getting like a halo.
Yeah, it's getting like a halo. Yeah, and so when you're like doing through these puff stitches, sometimes that catches, and you've got to like work your hook around a little bit, but that's not too bad.
Yeah. I have some yarn that's doing that right now.
Yeah. So it's really super fun. It's a
I'm
neat.
excited for you to do a crochet sweater.
I know.
Because you don't get to see those very often. I feel like I struggle to find people who are actively working on crochet sweaters.
Yeah.
Especially in our area.
Yeah, especially in our area. And this one is a super fun cardigan. I had a more traditional sweater kind of that I'm looking at.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing is, and we've talked about it, crochet uses more yarn.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, a friend of mine, Mary, you watched the podcast, you're awesome, and you know what you did, actually sat down and swatched out and found that it's actually pretty comparable. Like, she swatched out same size needles, same size hooks. Tunisian crochet uses so much more, but to actually get the same size project. Now, in crochet, you're doing less rows, but and therefore each row does use more yarn. But to get an actual same size swatch is very close to the same amount of yarn.
That's cool. I did not know she did that.
Yeah, she swatched it out, and then she's like, she actually just did like a little swatch like this, and she's like, I actually want to do a bigger, like, you know, dishcloth size.
Well, and I think it
like,
also depends on the stitches too, because like if you're, you know, if you're doing like baubles, they use so much yarn.
Baubles, yeah, you're in trouble. Like any time you're doing that versus, you know, a lace work, which is just less. But this was just straight a knit stitch and a single crochet comparison. Just like how much yarn does making fabric make?
Yeah.
And it was pretty comparable. I think the knit was a little like minusculely higher. But buying yarn for a sweater. I went into a store asking for 9 skeins of chunky yarn, and they were like, actually I needed 12 of the type I liked, and they were like, we don't have that. And so we found one. They had one color in one chunky style, one yarn in one color. They had 9 skeins of, and the yardage worked out. But I am like, if I need any more, there is no more.
Which
So
I think
finding yarn for a sweater's quantity worth of yarn for crochet is more difficult. It's definitely something people probably don't think about too much. But then you can buy blankets worth of yarn. Cheap yarn. Cheap yarn.
Yeah.
That's
and
the
I
problem.
think like, so for my sweaters, I've done pre-orders for sweater quantities of yarn, which is where,
if I had planned better, I would have been able to do that.
Which is where I've been able, because I'm a big lady and I need a lot of yarn to cover this. So I've always done pre-orders in order to get the right quantity. The only time I didn't pre-order is for of the sweater quantity, because I have 4 sweater quantities of yarn and I've knit one of them.
You're working on it.
I have 2 in progress though, so but the sweater that I actually knit, that was not a pre-order, but it happened to be a store that is very used to selling sweaters quantity. So it might be a difference of like what that store does
that is
sell.
also something.
Yeah.
And I just was like, oh, I know I want to do this project. Oh, there happens to be a yarn shop where I'm going. We'll see if they have it. And that's always a struggle. You never know what you're going to be walking into.
Because I think we talked to McWalker, and she seemed to talk like she moves sweater quantity of yarn. She seemed to.
Yeah, and she said she always, of her like staple
colors and
she always has that available because she knows people are going to walk in and be like,
so it might depend on what area the yarn shop's serving.
Yeah,
kind of
that's true.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's awesome that you're doing crochet sweater. Very excited. I don't know what that dance was.
This is my happy dance. What did my old happy dance look like at when we worked in customer support?
She used to do this all the time.
Chair, I could do this. I could do the animal like happy dance from the Muppets.
You're such a dork. So moving on, I have another whip, and it's
this
crazy.
I love. Make this for me. No. Why are you making this for you? Make it for me.
I'm having problems with my bag. It's popped my needles out of my stitches. So,
no.
I don't think the
But I'm loving these colors.
I am loving these colors. So let me try to. I don't think I lost any stitches. Ugh, I need to get those end things, the end rubbery.
Yeah, as much as you travel, I'm surprised you don't have a ton of them.
Well, I've not needed them as much because.
Don't buy any. I'll get you some for Christmas.
I have one set, but they're actually. I tried to put them on needles, and the needles were too small. But anyway, so this is is it the Snuggle is Real Cowl by Max the Knitter. And I did have to look at my notes because I also did the Snuggle down cowl. So like I'm confused.
She's feeling the snuggles.
I'm feeling the snugglies. So this is the Snuggle is Real.
What'd that girl say? I have decided that I am not a thirst trap. I am a snuggle opportunity.
I'm a snuggle opportunity. Yes. So anyway, I'm working on the Snuggle. Snuggle is Real. I'm gonna struggle with that, guys. Sorry, but I am using Juniper Moon Farms yarn.
Really like their yarn.
This is in, I think it's called Moonshine Based, and I couldn't find on the labels color names, but this is like a it looks really gray, but it's sort of tannish. It's got like I don't know how it has a tan kind of hue to it.
It's got that kind of what it's like oatmeal-y walnut.
It's oatmeal and gray meet and make friends, and that's what it is. And then of course this nice burnt orange. And I really like them together. I like the stitch that you're doing. It's a very simple, easy to memorize thing. So this has become my regular travel knitting.
Yeah, potato chip knitting.
I actually had to put it on a smaller cable needle because the first cable needle I had was too wide and it was stretching it out, and I'm like, this is gonna be huge. This is gonna be way too big. So I put it on this and I'm like, oh, it's not that bad. I thought my gauge was way off. So it's about the size that it needs to be, based on eyeballing, because I didn't measure my gauge. I don't do gauges for cowls.
I tried and I couldn't make it happen.
I do gauges for sweaters, but I don't do gauge swatches for cowls or shawls. Maybe if I did a lace shawl, I would do a gauge. But anyway, I'm really enjoying this. So this is a provisional cast on, and what you do is you knit this guy all the way up here, and I'm gonna have a ribbed. You knit all the rib, and then you add the lining, because who doesn't want a cowl that has a glorious lining? And my lining is going to be fancy Surrey alpaca.
Oh, this
floof.
stuff.
It's the floof cloud.
Oh my gosh, I put it on my face.
You use 2 strands of that, so I'm gonna try taking from the center pull and the outside at the same time. We're gonna see if that works. If I fight it too much, I'm gonna cut it into 2 balls. But you will knit the whole cowl, and then you pick up and do the lining, and then I think you stuff the lining in and seam the what you have provisionally on here to the rest of the lining. And then it's a super snuggly cowl, which I'm really excited.
This is going to be so warm. It might kill someone.
It might be too warm because this yarn is actually, I'm pretty sure this is an alpaca based yarn too. And it is super soft, and you can see mine is also fuzzy. Yeah. I'm sure that's alpaca doing that, because I am needle felting with alpaca right now, and it does needle felt, and it needle felts really well, but it's definitely a lot fuzzier than some wool I've used in needle felting. So I think it's just like the type of fiber it does that.
Yeah, the fiber has that halo, which is and mine was also an alpaca, so it makes sense.
Yes. But anyway, super soft, super snuggly.
Super soft. This is like, you were like, some people think mohair is scratchy, and I'm like, I don't. Like, no, mohair is perfectly fine. But then you gave me this, and you're like, no, mohair is so scratchy comparatively.
So I found that mohair can be scratchy, but I think it depends on how it was like milled. Yeah. Because I've bought a couple different types of mohair from a couple different shops, and so I have some mohair that's way softer than others. Yeah. Also, I read a book or an article, I think it was in the Taproot magazine that I subscribed to. There's an article about wool, and one of the things it talked about with the age of the sheep matters. So, or goat, because mohair comes from a goat. So the baby mohair is better, and that's why this alpaca is like baby Surrey alpacas is like super soft cloud dream, whereas and baby mohair goat is super soft dream, whereas like the older goat, it's more I actually think older goat mohair is used in rugs. I read that somewhere.
Yeah, because it would have a more wiry, more durableness to it. That makes sense. The things we learn.
The things we learn.
Devynn's Learning Hour.
Just reading an article in the Taproot subscription.
Hey, the more you learn, the more I learn. The more you learn, the more I learn, the better things are.
Okay.
All right. Oh, this baby. I remember this baby was thrown across a room at one point.
It was thrown across a room. So this is my other mohair project. I am using up the cereal packet and the mohair like nobody's business. So it is bigger than the last time I showed you guys, but not by much. So this is my love note.
This is so pretty.
And I don't look like I'm very far because I was struggling with my gauge swatch. And then I lost my gauge swatch. So it's just been a saga with this sweater. So I will talk a little bit about some of the modifications that I'm doing because I've had to modify the pattern and I'm very new to sweater knitting. So I don't really feel 100% confident in my modification choices, but based on my gauge swatch, I need to modify. So first, I am knitting a size 2XL, which is smaller than what I need, but my gauge swatch and the amount of ease that I want, that's the size I should knit. However, the 2XL doesn't fit my beefy arms. So I'm making some modifications so I can cover my beefy, chunky, lovey arms. So here's what I'm doing.
So wait, before you get to that, tell me how, because I'm also very, very new to sweater knitting, and you've just talked about 7 things I don't understand. So how did you come to figure out that you needed to be a size down, and then how, with the ease you wanted, what does that mean?
Okay, so positive ease in sweater knitting is like how much you're adding to the sweater so that it's bigger than your body.
Right, because you don't want it to be the exact size of you.
Right, when you buy sweaters at a store, they have positive ease in them. It's just a matter of how much. So when you're knitting a sweater, a pattern gives you the amount of positive ease that you need. This pattern is suggested with 10 inches of positive ease.
So it's going to be a very drapey.
It's very drapey. I don't like that much ease in my clothes because I feel like at some point it starts looking like I'm wearing a tent. So
makes sense.
I decided
you want a sweater, not a poncho.
Right. I decided to size down, which got me 4 to 5 inches of positive ease, which is I'm comfortable with. My other sweater that I knit had 4 inches, and it's great. I like it, so that's what I'm doing.
Okay, so because you size down with the 10 inches of ease, with your measurements, that actually comes out to 4 inches of ease.
Yes.
Got it. Math.
And
understanding things.
But the problem is, both sizes had problems in the arms. The size that I should have knit and this size.
Because not everybody is like perfectly
symmetrical.
This shape everywhere they are.
I just have beefy arms. Even the sweater that I'm doing with the class, I'm having to make modifications to the arms, but I have a teacher who's going to help me do it. So this is me doing it on my own, which I might slow down on this sweater so that the other sweater can teach me some things.
Right.
But for what I calculated out based on many articles, I am adding a few extra inches to so this is like a raglan is the style of sweater, and I'm adding a few extra inches to here to get the depth, to get to this point in the sweater that I'm wearing.
Okay, so you need from here to here would normally be like 10 rows. You need like 12 or 13 to get your whole arm,
to get the
length
depth
of your arm
that I need.
Gotcha.
And I read an Interweave article about that, which I can link below. And then I'm also having to add inches around to get around the beefy arm. So I don't remember how many stitches I'm adding. I have it in a notebook, but I'm adding a few stitches. And we're going to see, what I'm going to do is I'm going to knit to the point where I split for sleeves and maybe a little bit past that and try it on and see how I feel, see if I totally screwed it up, because my fear is making the two modifications at the same time. Maybe I'll have a whole bunch of extra fabric just right here. I don't know. Based on maths and articles that I read, it seems like it'll work out. So I'm going to try it. But this is how we learn. And that's where I'm at with my love note. And also to help reduce complications of all of that adjustments, I only did one repeat of the lace so that all of my added stitches and everything is happening in the plain around. So I'll only have, my size needs 2.5 repeats of lace. I'm knitting that same amount. I'm just doing it plain instead of with lace, which a lot of people have done that. And I've seen a couple sweaters come out and they do look very nice. And you can see.
So I mean, the colors are so pretty. You don't need that extra doodle, but that's really interesting how.
And I think the problem is this yarn isn't great for this project. And I think if I had other fingering weight yarn with other mohair, I would knit a different yarn with the sweater, or I could rip it all out and knit an entirely different sweater with this yarn. Those are options if it doesn't work out.
So why do you think that yarn isn't a very good yarn to go with it?
Because I think that's what's wrong with my gauge swatch. I think it's the yarn.
Oh.
Because when you do a gauge swatch, your options are change your needles or change your yarn. Like your sweater you talked about, like you think your yarn's not chunky enough.
Yeah.
I just think these two, the sweater is meant to be knit with a fingering weight yarn held with mohair. And I just think that maybe these two yarns, like fingering weight yarn is so subjective. Unpredictable.
So subjective.
Like you can compare fingering weight yarn from a couple different people, and especially like the indie dyers, it's so different.
I remember working with some fingering weight and I was like, this is so much closer to lace weight. Like this is just it's
and I've worked with some fingering weight that's so much closer to a sport or a DK.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so maybe I'm
we're
off
working on
there.
averages.
And that's where you're like, if you read a pattern and you're like this making all these modifications, it might be time to consider doing what yarn the pattern suggested. Because that's where they get all their information of how to knit that sweater is with that yarn. So this is something to think about when you're dealing with having to make all these modifications. Yeah. But I'm going to try it and we're going to see what happens. And hopefully I don't screw it up.
It's also some of the things you're dealing with are just that bodies come in shapes and sizes. Yeah. Bodies come with bigger busts and tinier waists and wider shoulders and thicker arms. And it's not just... And if you're a size 2X, that also could mean you're actually a size, like large, but you have giant knockers. Like it's just like we're all shaped differently, and we have to like you said, make those modifications because
and
we're making our own clothes.
A good pattern is like a formula to get what you need, and you should be able to modify from there. That is what a good pattern is, and this is a good pattern. There are suggestions. I complicated it by knitting a size down. If I would have knit the 3X, which would have been 10 inches of positive ease, I would be in a much better situation and only have to make the adjustments on the sleeve this way. I wouldn't have to add depth here because my size would already have that depth here. But I complicated things because I can do that.
We don't always make things simple.
No. So that's what I'm doing to modify this pattern, and I don't know if it'll work, but I'm gonna try it.
Life is life. We gotta try stuff. We gotta do stuff, and it'll be fun and interesting to see. So
and now I have mohair everywhere. It's like in my eyes, maybe in my teeth.
So we have one last little thing coming up. We talked about it a little bit in our previous cross stitch podcast. If you watch that. But we are participating in the Dove Center's Festival of Trees. Mm-hmm. The Dove Center is an awesome organization around here that helps victims of domestic violence and people that need to, get out of their homes for whatever reason.
Yes.
And they normally do this big thing where people donate these beautifully decorated trees. They auction them off, and that's how they raise a bunch of money for the year. Because of the Rona, they can't take in a bunch of trees that a lot of people have touched and breathed on and then give them to a lot of people that are going to touch and breathe on them. So they decided to do it virtually, and we are participating. Yes. We've participated in the past a little bit, but our local stitch group is getting together. We're going to decorate a full-size tree, and you take pictures and you upload your pictures.
6 pictures to them.
You submit these pictures, and then people pay to vote on them, and that's how they're asking for donations.
Yeah, that's how they're raising them.
It's like $5. It's like nothing to vote. And so, if you normally are a person that participates and you normally spend $200, $300 auctioning on these trees, which some people are very nice and then say, and I didn't really want a tree, here, have back the tree again. There's just a way of donating. That's tons of votes, and you get to vote and do all this stuff and still get your donation in and have a lot of fun.
Right.
Have a lot of fun. So we are doing a crafty tree.
Yes.
And we're planning ornaments that are, we're trying to keep it fiber oriented. So it'll be ornaments that are cross-stitched and crocheted and knitted and sewn and quilted and fabric and fiber as much as we can.
Yes.
And just covering this tree in fun stuff.
Yes. Homemade, handmade.
Homemade, handmade. Yeah. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I know I'm doing a couple of cross-stitch ornaments, but I'm also going to be doing some crochet ornaments.
Yes.
And
I'm going to knit some ornaments.
You're going to knit some ornaments?
I have a few picked out.
I
want to do the knitted pickle.
A pickle.
It is called the Jolly Pickle by Michelle Wilcox. Yes. And it is an adorable little pickle, and he's got a little Santa hat, and I want to do a pickle.
Yes, that will be very, very cute. And I think we're also going to try and just get some, I want to get some really poofy, fluffy, the kind of yarn you hate. Really poofy, fluffy, chunky yarn, and do some chained garlands, which will just be pretty. Do some fabric garlands. My sister quilts a little and sews a little. She's gonna do some stuff. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
It's gonna be cute.
It's gonna be very cute.
It's gonna be cute. So we have a couple people participating, and we're gonna meet and talk about like what everybody's gonna make, and we're gonna put together the tree and take some pictures, and
and so we'll keep you updated on our progress of projects that are being added.
Yes.
And hopefully maybe we'll even have like, this is what the tree looks like this week, this is what the tree looks like this week.
Yeah.
And it'll all come together really nicely. So, and to kind of encourage everybody to submit the best tree possible, there's a competition, and the person that gets the most votes gets a little prize. So
yes,
we're gonna try our best.
We're gonna try our best.
So that'll be really nice.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun stuff coming up.
Yep. Lots of things to finish.
Devynn's winter's coming, right? We all settle down for the winter eventually, right? I don't think I ever do, but
I think I do a little bit. I think I do.
No.
I don't know. I don't know if I do. So yeah.
Yep. Well, that is, is that everything?
I've shown everything I have.
Okay.
I didn't show everything I have, but I don't know if I can get to everything I have. Whatever, I'll show it next time.
Next time.
I don't have any acquisitions or anything, so it's just all my whips.
It's all whips. So, well, please, if you have anything you would like to share with us or anything we could do or talk about that you're interested in, please let us know in the comments below, and like our videos and all that jazz that you're supposed to say.
That, like, subscribe, and
ring
that bell.
God. Even people, I don't know what YouTube is doing, but even people that never said anything are now like, ring the bell, and I'm like, oh God.
Okay, so I gotta insert a tiny story here.
Okay.
So I, a couple years ago, used to do all these crazy workout videos, and there was this Latin dance one that I was doing. And one of the moves was, and ring that bell, and ring that bell.
So now when people are talking about it, you're like,
that's what I
just hear in your head.
Yes, I just hear her saying, and ring that bell.
Yes, that's what I need, Latin dance workouts.
Oh, it was hilariously complicated, though.
Maybe they can make me more coordinated.
Yeah.
Probably not. There's no help for me.
There's no help for you. You have like uneven legs and broken ankles. You're just done. There's no coordinating you.
That seems like a good place to finish.
So guys, we'll see you next time. Bye.
There's no help for you.